Hi Jared, this is Chris Scanlan. Thanks for the course so far. I'm part-time and not doing a placement, so I'll be looking at the second option for this assignment. Uh, the ICT learning tools that I'd like to look at are Poplet, Evernote, and Google Docs and Google Drive. Before we dive into these great learning technologies, it'd be good to explore some underlying concepts of constructivism, which will guide our analysis. Uh, Constructivists believe that our background knowledge and experiences accumulated in the past provide us with the foundation upon which to both absorb new knowledge and to reflect on this. There are a few major principles of constructivism. Firstly, learner-centered activities. Secondly, opportunities for students to work together. And thirdly, to assist novice learners to develop expertise. The following ICT technologies that we're going to look at do embrace these three guiding principles in a variety of ways. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is Poplet, and this is a Poplet that I've made previously for classical conditioning in psychology. Poplet's a simple tool that lets users capture and organise ideas online. I believe it'd be a very useful tool for my students when they need to do some brainstorming or mind mapping. It's a great learner-centered tool that encourages students to discover new connections between different topics and ideas. I find that mind maps, which I've used a lot before in the past, they're very good. I do think they're very useful, but when doing them with a pen or a pencil, they can be quite messy, difficult, and hard to kind of structure on the page. Poplet overcomes this because you can, you create a popple, then you create connections from that center one, and you can sort of move them around and resize them and type whatever you like in there. So it's quite flexible. It's good for diverse learners because some students like to work with color, and also the learning in Poplet it's not linear. It's kind of, you can dive into this wherever you like and go in a certain direction and come back to that. And you can also drag images in here like I've done with this brown Kelpie here. Yeah, so it's also good for collaboration. You can have multiple users work on the same Poplet. You can see my name there. Yeah, and the color coding is good for different areas within a topic. And then finally, it lets you share your Poplet on social media or over the web. Moving right along, I know we're short on time. Evernote is the second piece of technology that I'd like to look at. Evernote's a note-taking tool that lets users not only record text-based notes but images, web screenshots and video clips. Works across all devices, and notebooks are also shareables. I find that at the start of every project, it's really good to do a lot of research, whether this be across in my specialist areas of teaching or in my day job as a graphic designer. Every project starts with a lot of research. So, we create scrapbooks or mood boards in the design world, and essentially Evernote is just like an online scrapbook. You can drag in notes, images, web addresses, reference lists. Yeah, you can go crazy with your categorization. Yeah, it's good for diverse learners again because some learners like to work with images rather than text, and they can do that. It's usable on an iPad or an iPhone, or in a variety of environments. It's good because there's no real start and finish, so students can come in from any angle or any particular point in the project, and full monitoring is available by teachers. So if we just have a quick look, I've created a few. Yeah, so it's easy. You just create a new note, and we'll cancel that one. Basically, the overriding structure of Evernote is you create notebooks, and within each notebook is a bunch of notes, basically, and each notebook has a topic. So I've started creating one for Reconciliation Week and just collating a few images from the web. So we might want to get some more photos. I think you can just drag them in, just like that. Drag them straight from the browser. So you might want to have a collection of images there to guide you in your research. I think that means it's saved. And we might want to create a new one. Web URLs. You might want to create a kind of a start of a reference list. So we can save that. We'll go back to the notebooks area. You can see there's 2 notes in there, so one for web URLs and one for images. We can share these notes via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or a link over the internet. We just copy and paste that link into an email and send it to our teacher or friends for a student. So that's Evernote. I better move on to our final piece of technology now, which is Google Docs and Google Drive. Possibly the most useful piece of ICT, probably the most boring for students, but the most useful for them. Just in terms of back-end infrastructure and organization, it allows collaboration, excellent collaboration in terms of managing files and folders. That you can create a folder and specify lots of different permissions as to who can add or read only. So not only at the folder level, but also if you go into a document. So essentially it's like, Microsoft Office Suite, but an online version. And so if you've got multiple users working on this same document, if I type something in here, then my name will show up there. And then if someone else is editing a different part of it, their name will show up as well. So it's real time. It's quite good, actually. Now, if I close that one, what else have I got to say about this? Yeah, it's also transferable. So if it's good, it allows you to work on a Word document, a Google Docs document from at university or in the classroom, at home for homework, on the train via your smartphone. So if you have a sudden burst of inspiration, or if you're reflecting on something, you can just sort of write it up wherever you are. And if we recall back to one of those principles of constructivism whereby learners should be assisted, this is really good for that, because the teacher can be an active participant in the learning as well. So whereby it's learner-centered, this particular piece of technology, a teacher can certainly be involved in that learning. So I'll just, before we wrap things up, I'll just show you. So here's our folder structure over here. We can create new folders. That icons of the document, have photos in here. These are documents that someone has shared with me. We just create a new folder, or docs. Spreadsheets are also in there. Slides, forms, which are quite handy for Vox Pops, quizzes, and so on. Yeah, great piece of technology. So there you have it. Just understand we're short on time, so we've just run through them briefly. One other technology that I really wanted to show is something called Weebly, which is a website construction tool. It's free, very easy to use. I thought that's another really good technology that lets users approach a project in a different way. So rather than just writing up a Word doc or creating a PowerPoint, they're actually creating a website, very easy to use. Save that for another day. I just wanted to conclude by saying that it's important that with ICT approaches they're carried out with a good amount of social interaction in mind. As we know, both Piaget and Vygotsky both acknowledge the role of social interaction with peers and others in our development. Therefore, as teachers, we need to be mindful of the potential pitfalls for students when it comes to ICT. For example, students isolating themselves from their peers or spending too much time alone with a computer or device. We can see that constructivist principles are evident throughout ICT learning tools, a positive approach to take as long as there is consistent involvement from educators. Learner-centered activities are great, but I believe the teacher still has an important role as guide and facilitator. Thanks very much.